with Zizi Kodwa. Aaron?
Lucanio, thank you. That's quite right. I'm with NEC member Zizi Kodwa now. Zizi, of course, we have to start with the so-called elephant in the room. You have a former leader of your party litigating against a current leader. This announced on the eve of the 55th National Elective Conference. It's looking really ugly and really acrimonious.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Let me just start by saying that former President Zuma is a former president of the ANC. I make this point because former presidents in the organization, they hold a very prestigious and it's a heritage of the organization. When the organization goes through quite difficult moments, we rely on them in terms of their wisdom. And we'll expect the same from him, like we will expect from President Mbeki, we'll expect the same from former Secretary General Comrade Khalima. They've done also, if you recall, during his tenure, none of them criticized, because it was always courteous and the courtesy that the predecessor does not get involve into the space of the successor. And you do so not because you don't have views, but out of respect. And we would want to make the same appeal to former president. To an extent that the organization rallied when he was a president behind him and defended and protected him, that if please allow the incumbent, give him space to run the organization, we will protect, like we were taught by President Zuma at that time, that you must never attack the president of the ANC because you are weakening him. And it's unfortunate that on the eve of a conference, what we learned about the private prosecution. It's unfortunate because if you look at it politically, it's on the eve of a conference. It may appear as though it's an attempt to plunge the conference into a deep crisis.
I think you're being diplomatic there to say it may appear and it's unfortunate. This is incredibly loaded. The timing is outstanding and not in a good way. So you're putting this very nicely, but basically what I'm hearing you say to the former president is please, for the sake of the party, back off. How much unity is at stake here with that move yesterday?
Unity is not cosmetic. We know that it does not mean one day we'll wake up speaking in one, but it's important that we must always guide ourselves, we must always protect. The organization went through difficult times, like we're going through difficult times now when President Zuma was also a president. But we had a reason to defend him. It was not because we were his fans. Equally today, we're not the fans of President Ramaphosa. But we know the price of the entry point to disrupt and weaken the African National Congress. It's always an attack to the head of the organization. That's why we rallied behind President Zuma at the time when he was a president. We expect the same of him. We expect the same of him, that during these difficult times, courteously, he must allow the organization and help President Ramaphosa, among others, and his collective to lead the organization through difficult times. We hope that at the end of the day, we'll appreciate this call from members of the organization. And I'm sure these members, they're not looking forward to issues of contestation only. The delegates gathered here, they are concerned about the social conditions of the people of where they come from. The country is almost figuring on, if you like, instability. And if you look at issues of socio-economic conditions of our people, the economy is not doing well. We're facing crisis of load shedding. South Africans are looking up to this for solutions. So if they look at us, they look at this conference as if we're at each other's throats, that should not be, at least come from the leaders of the ANC. Worst come from the former president. That's an appeal we'll make to the president.
You mentioned all of the sort of socio-economic factors going on at the moment. We've got the hum of a generator behind us. Can you give me some insight into the sorts of discussions that have been happening at the top echelons of the party around Eskom, around power stability, the power grid, Andre de Ruyter's resignation and the way forward?
Well, the NEC met yesterday, and when we met, I think the decision, he has taken his own decision. We have always been concerned about energy security. Because unless we are able to resolve as a country energy security, we cannot on one hand talk about investment in the country. No investor will come to a country where you wake up one morning, you are on stage 6. You are told tomorrow at least to stage 2. When you wake up tomorrow, it's no longer stage because it kills even small businesses. And I think we are concerned. We hope that some of the interventions, because some of the discussions that will emanate from here is precisely the point I'm making. Shouldn't be about leadership. The discussions here must be about resolving these contradictions in society. As we speak, majority of South Africans are in a darkness. in many areas, small businesses have collapsed. And therefore, they are looking at this conference not so much about who has opened a private prosecution against one another, but to make sure that how this ANC emerging out of Nazareth will give hope and remain a leader of society.
I think a lot of people are looking to this conference with a jaundiced eye because, of course, it's under the ANC's leadership that we've seen issues around SOEs. We've seen deployment committees at work. We've seen poor state service delivery. So what confidence can you possibly give the public of South Africa on the brink of this conference that there's any hope left in the ANC?
For an example, we appeared, Minister Gungubele and I appeared before SCOP a few weeks back because we have observed that a number of SOEs, they are using almost scapegoating the issue of vetting, for example. No, we have not been able to do the following. We have not been able to build this capacity because there's a lack of vetting from an institution or an organ called SSA. The reality is that many of them are running away from vetting, including ESCOM. The recently resigned CEO could not finalize his vetting because there's a number of outstanding documents on his part. But when they appear in Parliament, it's as though an institution called SSA is delaying them. It's not a delay. Of course, there are a number of actors when you do vetting. But the reality is that they go to Parliament in publicly and give an impression that we are not able to do this to perform to the maximum because of lack of vetting. It's a scapegoating. Actually, a number of them, they are running away from vetting.
Mr. Kodwa, I'd love to touch more or dive deeper into State Security Agency, but we are going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you for your time. With that, we're just going to take a quick break before we give you more live coverage, rolling coverage that is, on the ground with the Newzoom Afrika 405 team here at Nazareth near Soweto.